apologies for any sickness you hear in our voices. Gerald and I are somehow nowhere near each other, but we're both sick. Anyway, you're listening to Matt and Matt at the Movies, our 9th episode. I'm still your host, Matt Parkinson, joined by my co-host from the land of the free, home of the brave, Matt Gerald.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, listeners.
And good night.
Yes.
They could be listening at midnight for all we know.
Maybe.
Today on the show, we've got 3 new releases. First up, we've got Will Smith and Margot Robbie as a con man and con woman in focus. Second, the new David Cronenberg movie, Maps to the Stars, which is finally getting its American release. And then last up, we've got The Lazarus Effect, a horror movie starring Mark Duplass, Olivia Wilde, and Jump Startles. This is also the episode in which we take a look back to the month that was and a look forward to the month that's coming up. First up, I must own up to being more wrong than Gerald was last episode. We made our Oscar predictions. I guess not last episode, 2 episodes ago, on our Oscar special. Gerald got more predictions right than I did, so he may gloat now.
I also got the prediction right that I would have more predictions correct, so double for me. Yay! But yeah, basically it came down to I predicted Birdman and Alejandro Iñárritu winning, and that's basically what made the difference, really. So, but hooray, I win. We are the champ.
Congrats on your prize of nothing.
Yay, I loved my nothing prize. Where is it? Oh, wait. Oh.
Yeah. We've also got a bit of news. For those who follow me on Twitter, you already know this, but I'm going to be reviewing films for The Escapist magazine coming up in a couple of weeks. That'll be the second week of March, so congratulations to me.
Hooray!
Gerald also has some news, he tells me.
And I actually recently just got on board with the box office boredom team that you had previously worked for, so there's in no way coincidence that I joined up right after you left. Yeah, let's go with that.
None whatsoever.
Not at all.
So I guess first movie this week, we've got Focus, which stars Will Smith as Nicky, a con man who winds up recruiting Jess, played by Margot Robbie, as they pull off a heist during a Super Bowl-esque weekend. I guess they couldn't get the rights to the actual Super Bowl. Then the 30-minute prologue ends, and we fast forward 3 years in time to a far less interesting story about some special racing car stuff. Gerald, please tell me that you like the prologue more than the main film.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the prologue is interesting from a character perspective. It's much better filmed, and frankly, it feels like this is 2 films smashed together by a very abrupt time skip, and it's just rather unfortunate.
It felt to me like the prologue was basically there to make the trailer. It's this flashy, almost Oceans-esque type thing, and then we get to the real movie, and it's so boring.
Well, it's the time skip that really crushes it, because the first half is really interesting and really good, and then we do this time skip, and it comes out of literally nowhere, and you don't really expect it. So it's what's going on here? Why are we skipping ahead 3 years in time? And
the con itself isn't particularly interesting.
No, it's not. I mean, the fun con stuff is watching what they do in the first half, and then the second half is just so boring overall, except for like the interactions between Will Smith and Gerald McRaney as the quote-unquote antagonist, because he's not really much of an antagonist, his henchman, which that relationship is fascinating, but we'll get to that in a second.
So I think one of the problems is that in the prologue, it's an entire team working. In the second part, it's basically just Will Smith.
Oh, Smith and Robbie, but yeah.
Well, she doesn't do a whole lot of actual conning in the second part. She's
well,
there, but she's not part of
that you know of.
Well, yes. She's not working with Smith as far as we know.
Right.
So it's basically just him. And I think, if the Ocean's movies were just focused on, Brad Pitt's character, I don't think they would have been anywhere near as fun.
No, probably not. Although, the problem with Focus's team is that you don't really characterize much of their team, so you can't really do anything with them with that. I mean, you get the one character, Farhad, who's he's characterized more, but that's largely because he gets more screen time. Otherwise, you don't know who these people are. You don't know why they know him or anything like that. But I mean, it is still mostly about Will Smith and Margot Robbie in terms of that perspective. But yeah, it is disappointing in how the con stuff is done.
It allows for more stuff to be happening at once, though.
Yeah.
If you've got more people working. Whereas in the second half, it's focused on just the one person.
It's flashier, and so it makes it look nicer.
Yeah. Even if it isn't, it could just be a trick.
Yeah, well.
But it keeps our interest better.
Let's face it, the number of twists and turns in this movie, it feels like the entire movie is a con game.
Well, I felt con just because the first prologue part is so much better than the second. But so Will Smith and Margot Robbie, big age difference between them.
I read that when Will Smith started doing The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Margot Robbie wasn't even born. That's frightening to me.
Now, the age difference doesn't really seem to matter in the film.
No, it doesn't.
Mainly because Margot Robbie can play more grown-up, I guess.
She can just play she's fantastic.
Yeah, she comes out looking like a real movie star. I mean, she stole the light away from Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. She does the same thing to Will Smith here.
Let's not go that far with Leonardo DiCaprio, but she definitely complimented him very well and proved that she is truly talented. And then here, okay, if there's any doubt that Margot Robbie is good, then I don't know what you're looking at, because she's fantastic here, and the chemistry she has with Will Smith is really good. And
I disagree with that.
Really?
I didn't believe in their love scenes at all.
Really?
Nope.
Huh. Okay.
I think a lot of it was because of Smith. He was flat in this.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I disagree. He's not up there quite to the same level that he was like 10 years ago, but I definitely think he was much more fun and charismatic than he was in like After Earth or 7 Pounds by wide margins.
No, he was fun during the flashier con scenes, but when he actually had to like do any sort of dramatic acting, it didn't come through for me.
Fair enough. I think he was, again, not to the same level he used to be, but it's a heck of a lot better than what he had been doing in recent years. So
anyone's better than After Earth.
True, but I mean, especially when you even by himself, and then especially with Margot Robbie, both really good in this film, I think. Now, where I really, really have my biggest problems is with Rodrigo Santoro as this antagonist that they pull out of nowhere in the second half. I mean, he's bland. He's not that interesting.
You don't really care if he gets conned or not.
No, you don't.
That's the whole thing.
No, not at all. It's just like, who are you and why should I... I mean, more fun is Gerald McRaney as his henchman, and especially when you put him with Will Smith. Oh, good grief, those scenes are hilarious.
They had one really fun scene, sure.
Every time he rants against the younger generation, it's hilarious. And then,
but that doesn't involve Smith. You could have him just focused on screen, just doing that for 20 minutes.
Yeah, but it helps when he's got Smith snarking back at him. That's as fair. Being a representative of that younger generation, quote unquote, even though Smith is not really a young man anymore. But I guess compared to Joe,
they still got 20 years between them.
Yeah, and then I loved the scene with B.D. Wong as that Chinese gambler businessman guy.
But again, that was from the prologue.
It was
because the prologue is so much better than the real part of the movie.
I agree with you. The best scenes are all in the first half. And it's an interesting plot. It just gets crippled with too many plot twists. I mean,
now, did you guess the last twist?
Well, it depends on which one you mean by the last twist, but like the one where they talk about the Toledo alarm bell or whatever it is, that part I did guess. Now, the thing with Gerald McRaney and who he is, no, I did not see that coming, and nor did I see what exactly Smith had done with his con of Santoro's character. But the alarm bell thing I did see coming.
See, I got the character twist as soon as the scene started, actually. Just because it was so heavily foreshadowed.
Okay.
So I got that there, and I was like, if I didn't get it for 5 more minutes, this would have been great. But then I got it as soon as that scene started. I'm like, they're totally going this way, and then they totally went that way.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing.
It was. I mean, that ending scene is so laughably stupid too. especially with what McRaney does, and then what he does after that with, oh, good grief. And then he walks away, and I mean, what have you? And I mean, like you see Robbie and Smith get out of the car, and like he's still got the thing in him, and I'm like, what? This looks so ridiculous. So
it's a disappointing conclusion.
Oh, a very disappointing. We keep harping on it. The second half is just so laughably bad compared to the first half.
It's not even. It doesn't even have the same sort of energy.
No, it's
it feels almost like a completely different movie.
Well, that's what I said. I think this is Focus and Focus 2, and they smashed them together by a very bad time skip.
I wonder if one of them was meant to just be a short film, and then they expanded it, but didn't expand it enough, so they smashed them together.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll still take...
I'm sure it's not the case, but...
Who can say? I mean, I'd rather still watch this than 7 Pounds or After Earth, but yeah, this was... It's decent enough, but it's not as good as I was hoping, certainly.
It'll pass the time.
Exactly.
But it's not a theatrical movie. It's one you watch on late night cable.
Yeah, or late night cable, or like a Saturday afternoon sort of thing. If you're trying to just chill out and you flip through channels and see it airing or something.
But it's not a $12.75 or whatever tickets cost nowadays.
No, definitely not worth a theatrical price. Which, speaking of theatrical anything, our second film of the week is David Cronenberg's newest film that's finally getting an expansion, Maps to the Stars. Now, this stars Mia Wasikowska as Agatha, who's a unhinged and burned young woman who returns to L.A. to make amends to her parents, who are played by John Cusack and Olivia Williams, and her brother Benji, who's played by Evan Bird, for horrible things that she did in the past. Now, in order to support herself in LA, she gets a job as the assistant to an aging actress named Havana Seagrand, who's played by Julianne Moore. But all these characters are really terribly broken in their own ways, and having been broken by mental illness and Hollywood, and oh yeah, Robert Pattinson is in there somewhere. Mr. Parkinson, what did you think of this film?
So, in full disclosure, I haven't seen this since September. So, if some details are missing, it's because I've seen 200 plus films since then. I thought this film was a calculated mess.
That's a nice way of putting it, actually.
In that it's very, very sloppy for a lot of it, but I think it was intentionally so. It's got a lot of different elements that are playing all at once. I don't think it quite knows what to do with all of them at all times.
See, one of the interesting things for me, I guess, is it feels as though David Cronenberg was only really involved in like the second half of the film, where you get a lot more of the psychological horror type stuff to it, and then the rest of it is just like, what's going on here? And I mean, calculated mess almost gives it too much credit. I mean, it's a convoluted mess in my opinion. I mean, it's an interesting and biting satire of Hollywood, certainly, but it's so very unsubtle about how despicable these characters are supposed to be, and there's so many subplots that it makes the overall narrative very disjointed and uneven.
And it doesn't do a good enough job at balancing everything.
No, it doesn't.
You focus on someone for a while, and then you move on and forget about them for a while, and then it's really tough to do this type of thing right.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of people who can really manage that. I mean, I guess if you had to pick main characters, it's Mia Wasikowska and, I guess to a point, Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what is nice is that they're the main focuses, and they're also the best parts of the film.
So Julianne Moore's great in this.
Yeah, I mean, playing like in Still Alice, you saw her as this broken and sad, but yet still hopeful woman with Parkinson's disease. Not Parkinson's disease. I did this again. Alzheimer's. Yes. Again, I blame you.
That's fine.
But then here, she's this arrogant, narcissistic lunatic of a woman, and yet it's so fascinating to watch how insane she is.
She starts that way and gets worse.
I know.
That's the thing.
I mean, she's a terrible person, and then she's being haunted by like the ghost of her mom of sorts, where it's like, because her big plot is she's trying to star in a remake of a film that her mother won an Oscar for like 30 years ago before she died tragically, and so
the mother's ghost haunts her.
Yeah, and it's like, it's clearly mental illness, but it's really fun to watch those scenes, especially because she thinks she was abused as a kid, she's kind of an unreliable narrator in that regard, where it's like, it doesn't seem like she really was, but maybe she was. It's hard to know, and the film doesn't really explain if she truly was or not. And then Mia Wasikowska, they actually at least tell you that she is schizophrenic, and so the fact that she's also a pyromaniac to a point is...
And also other things.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of drugs in this movie. I mean, the Evan Bird character, Benji, I mean, he's 13 and he's already been to rehab.
I called him a Bieber-esque brat.
Oh, he is absolutely... Well, he's worse than that, in my opinion. But,
well, it's true.
Yeah, just... You want to reach into the screen and punch him 1,000 times because he's just so horrible of a person.
And he does a really good job of playing that character, too.
That is very true. He does very well doing that. It's just... The character's so utterly loathsome that it's... But,
and
yes...
we've barely even mentioned John Cusack, Olivia Williams, and Robert Pattinson, and they're all fine, too.
Yeah, overall. Cusack does feel like he's phoning it in somewhat, I think. But It's also because the type of character he's playing, I mean, he's this self-help guru to the stars type thing, and he's totally loopy. Olivia Williams is basically, she's still mostly there to exploit her son's fame and all that, because she doesn't seem to really do much on her own. And
because good characters would make this movie wrong somehow.
Well, there are good characters in this film. That's the problem. I mean, but... And then, okay, we won't even get into the whole thing of what Cusack and Williams are as characters together.
Although it explains some things.
Yeah, it does. Especially the madness of their children.
Yes.
Think Game of Thrones, people, for those of you who know what I'm referring to. And Robert Pattinson, yeah, he's basically just there because he was in Cronenberg's last film, and he's gone from being driven around in a limo to driving other people around in a limo, and okay, he becomes Mia Wasikowska's boyfriend in that movie, and okay, it doesn't really go anywhere because, again, Game of Thrones. So, yeah.
At least it's not a boring movie.
No, it's not boring. It's just, it is like watching a car crash where it's a disaster in a way, and yet it's still fascinating to watch because all these characters are just so messed up. But then again, if you don't like this film, I completely understand because
100%.
So many of these characters are so bad, and there's so much confusing, convoluted mess that it would be very easy to get turned off by this film. So it's divisive is an absolutely perfect word for it, in my opinion.
A film that I don't think is going to be particularly divisive is the final film we're looking at this week, which is The Lazarus Effect. This one stars Mark Duplass and Olivia Wilde, not Williams, as scientists who are working on a way to bring the dead back to life. They've found a way to do it thanks to the Lazarus serum, but it might not be 100% effective. They bring a dog back early on, for instance, and it acts just a little bit differently from how domestic dogs are supposed to act. But an accident kills Olivia Wilde's character, so they have to bring her back with this new process, and then it becomes generic horror movie number 657. I felt like I needed to be brought back from the dead after watching this movie. Gerald, did you feel the same way?
Not quite as badly as you, but yeah, I mean, it's basically, it starts out with an interesting premise and then turns into, as you said, generic horror film number 657. I find Olivia Wilde to be decent in her performance, but her character isn't really all that interesting. And then Mark Duplass is even more boring, which is really depressing because he's actually a pretty good actor. The One I Love last year, for instance. But I just... And then the three supporting characters they've got, I mean, they're, for Star Trek people, they're red shirts. They're there to die. You know from the very beginning what's going to happen to them. So I can't really get attached to them. They might have an occasional funny quip here or there, but there's not a lot about these characters that I like or I'm interested in. So why do I care about anything in this film?
I very much liked Olivia Wilde's mild smugness in one scene, where she just kind of looks at them for a while, and you're like, yeah,
I was like,
this is funny.
Yeah, completely. Just, are you supposed to be scary? Because you're not. Are you supposed to be happy? Because you're not. I don't. There's nothing here that really pulls me in. Although, what's really interesting I actually would like to see her play like a creepy but kind of smoother villain character, kind of like a Hannibal Lecter or something like that. Because
that could work.
I actually think she could pull that off.
Well, she doesn't really have a lot of dramatic depth, so
no. But if you can, I think the expressions that she puts on her face are enough that she could pull that off if the writing was good. I mean, that would be really what would be essential, is having a good script to work off of. But if she had
which the Lazarus Effect does not have.
No, it does not.
I mean, so this film actually tries to bring up some kind of more interesting premises, like religion, for instance. I mean, Olivia Wilde's character is a Catholic, and they're doing something that defies God, I guess.
That's not interesting. That's boring.
Well, it would have been more interesting than what we got.
Well, it's a trope that we've seen 1,000 times, where it's like, why are you... I mean, I'm sorry, if in your script you use the phrase playing God, you need to stop and turn around and rewrite it. I'm sick and tired of hearing that phrase. It's utterly dumb.
Well, see, my problem is that if you're going to bring it up at all, at least go all the way with it. This one brings it up and then ignores it.
Well, sort of. I mean, it brings up this idea of, okay, is she possessed by a demon, or is she just mentally ill because, okay, she's still dealing with the childhood trauma thing and all that. So, and it never really...
It doesn't conclude that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't explain at all. Okay, is she actually possessed? Or, I mean, she says she was in hell, so we're led to think that she was possessed. But then you get the scene where she drags the documentarian character into her hell, quote unquote, and I'm like, okay, how does that work? Is that actual? Is this demon possession? If it's mental illness, then how does that work? If it's demon possession, okay, whatever, sure. But
meanwhile, we've got this dog acting like it is possessed, and we've got her getting psychic powers like Lucy.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, what's really funny is that, okay, if the dog is possessed, why does she kill it? Yeah, I mean okay, you have an ally basically. You could have, I mean, and it's Cujo basically. So it's like, okay, it's a literal hellhound. Let's go attack. But no,
that doesn't happen at all.
No, not at all. And so it's like, okay, well, what the bloody blazes is going on here? I will give it credit for, despite having the fact that they have a documentarian character and a camera, it is not found footage.
Not found footage.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Thank you. Yes, they intersplice some like security camera footage, but okay, fine, whatever, that's fine. It's not actually trying to be a found footage thing where I'm following around a character with a camera. And wow, this movie is short.
Yeah, it's only like 82 minutes long or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, with credits, it's probably more like, I don't know, 75.
78.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, could we have just like cut this down and turned it into like a single television episode of some horror, like, I don't know, go put on American Horror Story or something like that, I don't know. But
well, it's not even an R-rated thing. This is a PG-13 movie.
No, it's not. It's just
so.
And we haven't even gotten to the most annoying part of this movie.
Which, Gerald, I'll let you introduce.
Bang!
Bang!
I hate jump startles. In case, like, literally, I felt like I was copy pasting my notes from The Woman in Black 2 for this, because it does the same problem. It's, let me give you a loud, obnoxious sound with a loud, obnoxious soundtrack related thing, and a quick edit, and oh, it's scary. No, it's not.
It's startling, and it's not even really that startling when they're this telegraphed.
Exactly. Like, anytime a film slows down and lingers on something, especially when there's flickering lights and darkness, whatever, it's like, you can expect there's probably going to be a jump startle. I mean, it's not always 100% that they do that. Or
well, they try to fake you out.
Yeah, they'll fake you out by, okay, well, and there's one in this movie where she's looking underneath like this table or something, and okay, there's actually nothing there, so there's no jump startle, but then she leans up and oh, boom, jump startle.
Yeah.
I mean, the pig mask jump startle is one of the most horrific things because you see it coming.
You see the guy in the background, she turns away, and then when she turns back, he's there.
Yeah, and then, of course, loud bang from the soundtrack. Which,
well, of course.
I actually think there were some editing and script issues, too, in terms of continuity. Because, like, there was one where like they use the word kilovolt to describe how much electricity they were pumping into this thing, and I think right before she gets shocked, she actually says kilowatt instead.
It could have been.
I'm pretty sure. Now, maybe I misheard, but I'm pretty sure that. And I think there's a couple of scenes also where it's clear that they just took a shot from a previous scene and just mirrored it 180 degrees to make it look different, even though it's not.
Yeah.
So, laziness in that regard really doesn't. And then it has the audacity to sequel bait.
Yeah.
Oh, if this gets a sequel, I will be so depressed.
It'll be disappointing if it does. I mean, we don't need one.
No, we really don't. I mean, these horror films on their own rarely work. Horror sequels are worse, and that's even more depressing.
Yeah. And even, like, okay, the final act here, which is basically all you're seeing in the trailers.
Yeah.
Because it's the only...
interesting thing in the movie.
Well, it's not even that interesting, because it's just generic.
Yeah. Well, it's
there aren't even any good kills in this thing.
No, we're going to squish you in a cabinet like a bread box, or...
Well, then she kills, like, 2 of them with her bare hands.
Well, one of them didn't even do that. It's like shoves an e-cig down his throat.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, that's the first time I've ever seen somebody get killed by an e-cig. Okay, well, that's new. But, yeah, and then... so what she does to Mark Duplass, and then you see him at the end, and it's like... Okay, wait, I thought you were just a victim of skull trauma, so why do you look perfectly normal here? Again, that whole continuity error issue. Like, yeah. Okay, I thought he got his skull caved in. What's going on? And yes, we're spoiling these things. I don't care. You don't need to see this film.
But, like, they give Olivia Wilde Lucy powers. She becomes the evil Lucy. Yeah. They don't do much with it.
Nope. It's not interesting at all. I mean, at least in Lucy, it was, like, leading to some sort of almost singularity where it's like... she's trying to help humanity or whatever. This is just... Okay, again, this is where it's, again, mental illness versus demon possession. Okay, are these powers because her brain is now operating at higher capacity than the 10% thing? Or is she possessed by something? I don't know. It
never
doesn't explain. No, yeah, nope. Explain, movie, please.
Watch us get an unrated cut.
Oh, there will probably be an unrated... Or, if nothing else, it'll definitely be more like an R-rated cut, especially with some of the brutality of some of the, like, the kill.
There's one scene with a lot of blood.
Yeah, but
give it that.
It looks completely fake. It doesn't really look like actual blood. So it's like, okay, yeah, I don't care if we get an R-rated, unrated cut or not.
Never see it again.
Yeah, there's no reason to. You don't need to see this film to begin with. So skip it, please.
So at the end of each month, or the beginning of each month, I guess if you're an optimist, we like to look back at the month that just passed and reminisce about it in general. Then take a look forward to the month that's coming up. So for the second month of 2015, Gerald, what were your general impressions?
Second verse, same as the first, in my opinion. Like, I would say that this probably had a couple more better films in terms of new releases, because, but it wasn't that great of a month again, and a lot of bad stuff, much like January.
To me, it felt, well, like very much like a rehash. I mean, we've got one really good theatrical release. In January, we got Paddington. This month, we got Kingsman.
Yep.
Then most of the rest of it was just either bad or bland or a combination of the two.
Yeah, I mean, we kicked things off with Jupiter Ascending, which, I mean, we were both really anticipating that, and then it turned into that's a calculated, fascinating mess of a film. I mean, Eddie Redmayne.
Oscar winner.
Yeah, Oscar winner Eddie Redmayne, everybody. And Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis were goofy beyond belief.
Sean Bean.
Not the bees.
I still hope someone slices those together.
We should go look to see if they've done that by now. They probably have.
Well, probably not, because there's no like DVD quality.
That's true. Okay, come talk to us in 6 months. There will probably be something like that.
Oh, I guarantee it.
I mean, at least the visuals were pretty, but I mean, we can pretty much guarantee that the Wachowskis are not getting $150-200 million to ever play with in a film ever again.
See, the weird thing is, I think Jupiter Ascending might be the second best movie that came out theatrically this month. And that's sad.
I would disagree, but fair enough.
Well, what would you put above it? Focus?
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Okay.
That same weekend! SpongeBob SquarePants the movie, SpongeBob and Water.
I wouldn't put that above it.
I would.
Be close. It's another SpongeBob movie. Good for it.
It was still legitimately funny, and yes, the plot was generic, but it was still, I still laughed quite a bit, and for good reasons, not because it was like Eddie Redmayne being soft and then yelling and then back to soft again with that weird thing of this. SpongeBob was legitimately funny to me.
At times, yeah.
I mean, again, it's not great, but I definitely liked it a heck of a lot more than some of these other things on this list. So, yeah, I would... That same week, SpongeBob. Pretty good movie. Heck of a lot better than Seventh Son.
Seventh Son was not at all a good movie.
I said it before, but the only way to make this more generic is to swap out the big name actors for no names, and other than that, you have generic fantasy number 3000.
Oscar winners.
Yay.
I bet Julianne Moore regrets doing that now.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, actually, I think Michael Keaton more regrets doing Need for Speed and RoboCop. But anyway.
But at least those would have been decent paychecks.
Yeah, they would.
Seventh Son just looked cheap. I know it had a decent budget, but...
Well, I mean, given the special effects budget that they had, and yet they did nothing with it, and then it tanked at the box office.
Oh, I know. Now, that weekend, actually, it had a VOD release that I really liked, which was The Voices. Which I know you still need to see, Gerald.
It's on my list. Don't worry.
But that was probably the second best movie of the entire month for me. So... But that's VOD. I mean, I had another VOD movie that comes out later in the month, and that would be up there, too. We're getting better movies on VOD than in theaters. That's sad.
Well, I mean, it is January and February, so those are the traditional dumping grounds for these things. But yeah, it is still massively disappointing.
Yeah. But luckily, the next week, we had Kingsman.
Kingsman
was great.
Kingsman is the best movie of the year so far.
Yeah, I think so.
In terms of new releases, absolutely. There's no way you find me anything better than that.
I mean, Paddington would be close.
No.
Okay.
It's not. It's the second best movie of the year. I agree, but no, because of how fun Kingsman was.
Kingsman's a lot of fun.
I mean, Paddington was fun, but not like this.
No.
This was over the top, insane, hilarious action and comedy, and just I loved everything about this movie. I don't care if the plot and characters are somewhat cliched. There's just so much fun to be had.
I know both of us agree on that, where we're basically plugging our ears and going na 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 in regard to any Kingsman flaws that people want to point out.
I'll at least be willing to admit that it has flaws, and I'll be willing to say what those flaws are, as I've said. But
they just don't matter.
Yeah, they really don't. There's so much fun with this. I mean, that church action sequence is still probably going to be the best action sequence of the year, and one of my favorites of all time, just because it's so utterly insane.
And it turned Colin Firth into an action star.
And made Taron Egerton hopefully into a new leading man, because he was great as well.
Yeah.
So, again, I said this before, go see Kingsman if you have it. If you have, go see it again. And if you've seen it twice, heck, why not? It's worth 3 times.
It's better than seeing anything else that comes out this week.
No kidding.
Or probably for quite a while, I'd guess.
Yeah, certainly possible.
So the movie that led the box office that weekend was 50 Shades of Grey. Which I feel like we've talked about it enough, and I don't want to talk about it anymore because it just depresses me the more that we discuss it.
Yeah. The only fun I've had with that movie is I've been seeing a lot of these joke images where they'll do like my tastes are unconventional, and like the last panel of the 4-panel thing is some joke thing. Like one I saw was like he's got a room full of My Little Pony stuff, or just other things like that. And so I was like, okay, that has at least been worth it for 50 Shades to make it funny, but the film itself is so loathsome that I just ugh.
Just despicable people doing despicable things, and it's too boring to make us even interested.
2 hours of my life I will never get back.
Luckily, I also saw The Last 5 Years that weekend, which was significantly better.
Lucky you.
I know. So, the next weekend, where do you want to start?
Oh, let's start with a bland, inspirational sports movie, why don't we?
Can we just call it bland, inspirational sports movie? That basically describes it perfectly.
Bland, inspirational sports movie number 5012, because McFarland USA...
is just that.
Yeah, it's every trope you've ever seen. done to death.
Boring lead.
Can we please stop trying to treat Kevin Costner like he's a great leading man?
True story, because of course it is.
Yeah, it's...
Kids, at least one kid that doesn't look anywhere close to a kid.
Nope, sports part that's not interesting at all, because it's just them running around.
Hey, running is so exciting. It's like NASCAR, but with people.
They're making a left turn! What are they going to do now? Oh, they're making another left turn!
I think running is probably more interesting than NASCAR.
No, only because NASCAR has the possibility of giant crashes.
Okay.
It's also more tragic, but still.
Well, yeah, I don't want to see people blow up.
Really? I thought you would be the one who would want to see people blow up.
Shh.
Okay, so...
I don't want to see the gas that gets burned in NASCAR. I'll go with that. Is that fair?
Sure, let's go with that.
It kills the environment a whole bunch more than running does.
Okay, that's true. Something that also killed the environment in its own way is the stupid movie centered around a aquatic-based temporal travel basin, or hot tub time machine.
2. Ha ha ha, see, we did 2 and then we looked at the camera even though there's no camera.
Oh, I hate that joke.
It's so clever because they're breaking the fourth wall, and breaking the fourth wall is so great, and you can tell by the passion in my voice that I really care.
You're more passionate about this film than I am.
I know.
You're at least being monotone. I'm not willing to be monotone. I bloody hate this movie.
It was terrible.
It was absolutely terrible. Not funny, loathsome, like even more loathsome than they were in the first one. At least they had redeeming qualities in the first one to a point, but here they don't. Where is John Cusack? Because he would have saved this movie a lot better. Too many references to other better time travel related properties.
I don't get why time travel movies keep doing that. It's like they think we don't know what time travel is.
Maybe, but then...
Which just shows a contempt for the audience.
Yeah, it's contempt for the audience, and it's probably giving the writers more credit than they deserve.
Yeah. Oh, it's like Terminator. No, it's not. No. It's not like Terminator. Terminator was good. Terminator you can watch over and over again. Hot Tub Time Machine 2 you can barely sit through once.
I don't know how I managed to sit through it once even. But then again, I also really didn't like the first one, so there you go. But yeah, the second one's still worse.
Yeah. Finally, that weekend, we got The Duff, which was the first kind of big disagreement that Gerald and I had.
It wasn't that big of a disagreement.
Compared to the other disagreements we've had, it's been a relatively big one.
That's fair. And it comes down to, I like Mae Whitman and I like the humor more than you, so okay, yeah. I mean,
even though it has a ton of flaws.
It does have a ton of flaws, and I will absolutely agree.
You acknowledged all of them, too.
I did.
That you liked it in spite of them, I didn't.
Yeah, and that's why we'll disagree. I mean, it mostly comes down to the humor, I think. I liked the humor throughout. You kind of got tired of it pretty quickly. So
I did like it at the beginning, and then it's basically the same type of thing over and over and over. And
yeah, I liked Mae Whitman. I liked Romany Malco. I liked Allison Janney.
Nobody liked Ken Jeong, though.
Nope.
We agreed on that part.
Nobody loved Ken Jeong. I don't know how you could. But, so, yeah,
Mean Girls wannabe.
It is, but I still call it Mean Girls for a new internet-obsessed generation that's never seen Mean Girls, so... It was okay. I like it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's not going to change your world or any sort of thing, but there's again, go back to some of these other terrible things we've described. I will take this over that any day of the week.
Well, I'll take it over at least a few of the movies this week.
No, absolutely.
Case in point, The Lazarus Effect, which we've already talked about this episode, so we won't get into it really, but it's just a generic horror movie. Yeah, it's not a good generic horror movie either.
Basically, February wraps up with a generic, pretty bad horror film, a mediocre con artist film that could have been so much better, and a weirdly convoluted, messy satire of Hollywood and its negative points.
It's basically what it comes down to this last weekend of February.
Yep, which leads us into... I don't know, could we call March hopeful? I don't know.
It's tough.
It's possible. I mean, we kick things off, and we talk about a film that you certainly anticipated on your list earlier this year with Neil Blomkamp's Chappie.
which hopefully will wind up being good.
I hope so. I mean, after Elysium was not quite as good, it left me a little worried, and we've said this before, but it'll certainly tell us whether or not Neil Blomkamp is legit, or if District 9 was just a fluke, and maybe he's not really as good. I don't know. I mean...
The trailer... When I first saw the trailer, I was like, this looks really good. Then I see the trailer more and more, and I'm getting worried.
Yeah, I think what has me worried the most is Hugh Jackman's character, because he just seems like your generic anti-technology character, like anti-AI character that you usually see in all these movies, where it's like, you can't trust an AI because it's going to turn evil, or you don't know what it's going to do, it's unpredictable. And it's like, okay...
We've seen this villain before.
Exactly. And then, okay, there's obviously the corporate business interest thing, too. So, okay, yeah, we've seen that before. And the wide-eyed scientist who's trying to create something that could push humanity and whatever forward. And
I feel like it's really going to come down to how much we like Chappie as a character.
Well, yeah, that, and a lot of that is going to be down to the writing from Blomkamp. So,
yeah.
I mean,
so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he's proven he can do this, but I don't know. Well, and then the action sequences could help too.
That's true.
And it is rated R, so we're not gonna cheapen it by any stretch of the imagination with being PG-13. So maybe I don't know. I mean, I look forward more to that than Unfinished Business.
Which is, yay, another Vince Vaughn quote-unquote comedy.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn needs to stop making quote-unquote comedies because they're just not working anymore.
Did they ever really work?
Wedding Crashers.
Was that because of him, though?
Partially.
Okay.
I mean, back then, yes, Vince Vaughn was a pretty good comedic actor, especially, again, when you put him with Owen Wilson. Now, yes, I will admit Owen Wilson was better. But
that's still just one movie, though. I mean, is that not the anomaly in this?
It is the anomaly. I agree, but
okay.
What I'm saying is, it's not that he's been bad the entire time.
Okay.
He's had some good stuff here and there. Unfortunately, everything in the last 7 years has been pretty terrible from him, and this only continues it. And what really depresses me is that he seems to be dragging Tom Wilkinson and Dave Franco along with him. I mean,
yeah.
Dave Franco is legitimately a good comedic actor. I mean, the Jump Street films and Neighbors have shown he's really got some serious comedic chops. But
absolutely,
here, they give his character a stupid name, and it's supposed to be funny, and it's just, and then, I mean, Tom Wilkinson, why is he? I mean, this dude, he's an older, excellent British actor. And yet
they're throwing him as a sidekick in a Vince Vaughn comedy.
Yeah, and not even a good sidekick or anything. And this looks so bad.
Now, at least, I mean, it's another thing that I'm grateful it's rated R.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, rated R comedies are hit and miss, really, because you get...
all comedies are hit and miss.
Well, this is true. But rated R comedies particularly, because... Like, you're not going to make nearly as much money because they can't get the entire audience in there. And then they're often largely just about sex jokes and bodily humor jokes, and those can't really carry you all that far. You actually have to be clever. But
see, the reason that I'm saying it gives it a little bit of hope is that PG-13, you're restrained.
True.
With rated R, you're not. I mean, a lot of the times they use the R rating as an excuse to do stupid stuff. Which it's not good.
I think that's what they're going to do here, is they're going to use the R rating to basically do as much gross-out humor as they can, and it's going to make me loathe this movie quite severely.
Well, it's probably going to be that, but I'm holding out a little bit of hope.
You have more hope than I do.
I know. So the other movie, the first week of March, is the second best exotic Marigold Hotel, which probably means it's going to be the second best exotic Marigold Hotel movie.
Did we really need another one of these?
Did we need it? Well, I mean, the first one, fine.
The first one was okay. I mean, I didn't hate it, and it was certainly nice to see all the really talented older British actors still getting something to do. But it's like, I mean, I remember when John Madden, doing Shakespeare in Love, and it was like, okay, cool, but these Marigold movies, just why? It almost seems like it's doing on this new Hollywood trend of exploiting India as being it's exotic, but they still speak English, so we don't have to worry as much about having to worry about subtitles and all that. So we'll get more audiences, and we can do it with feel good stuff. I mean, we saw this with the Helen Mirren movie, the 100-Foot Journey last year.
Yeah.
Same thing, where it's okay, it was set in France, but it involved an Indian family, and put it up against hoity-toity French cooking woman played by Helen Mirren, and it's just like, why do we keep doing this? And
this just looks like a rehash of the first one.
Yeah, except they're bringing Richard Gere in for some reason. I guess because they needed somebody to replace Tom Wilkinson. This is why Tom Wilkinson couldn't... Well, okay, he couldn't be in this movie because he was dead at the end of the first movie. And then...
Spoiler.
Whatever. And then he was too busy doing Unfinished Business instead, which makes me... Which now he's sad that they wrote his... that John Madden wrote his character that way.
Yeah. So the next weekend we've got the live-action Cinderella, which I'm hearing from people is okay.
Which surprises me to no end, because whenever
that trailer's awful.
Both the trailers are awful in my opinion, but
yeah.
I mean, I honestly, in some ways, I do want this to fail, if only because I want this whole live-action Disney trend to die. But I don't know. Maybe they'll pull it. I mean, Kenneth Branagh. You can say what you like about him. Some people love him. Some people hate him, and whatever. But yeah, he is coming hit and miss. But he could pull this off. I mean, if you're going for grandiose spectacle, then yeah, Kenneth Branagh is probably your guy, especially with his training in Shakespeare and all that. But it just... You're taking an animated film that... I mean,
it's still perfectly fine, and you should go watch it because it's going to be... Well, it's a really good film.
Yeah, well... I have mixed whatever to Cinderella. There's some really good stuff in it, and some really not... Like, the prince is the most bland thing.
That's true.
The prince is bad. The supporting characters are largely bad.
Maybe they'll fix all this for the live-action version.
Maybe.
I doubt it, but it's possible.
Well, okay, you're taking the wicked... Okay, let me make sure I'm getting this correct. The wicked stepmother is the one from Cinderella. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. I will not make that mistake again. And who's playing the wicked stepmother in this one? Cate Blanchett, okay? That could work. But then you get Tim Burton's favorite leading woman.
Well, maybe not favorite anymore.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, they did divorce, so... Okay.
Exactly.
But, yeah. And she's playing the fairy godmother, which is weird.
Maybe it'll work.
Maybe. I must admit the CGI doesn't look all that great.
No.
And then Richard Madden playing the prince. Maybe they'll infuse him a little bit more personality in the animated film, but hey, he's not on Game of Thrones anymore for reasons. Yes, I know that's not... You can't really consider that a spoiler anymore for a book that's 15 years old and
it's a spoiler.
Yeah, the series is 2 years... That spoiler's 2 years old at this point. Come on.
Who cares? It's still a spoiler. You want to get into the spoiler discussion?
No.
You can't even spoil The Sixth Sense.
No, you can't. Everybody knows that one now. But anyway.
No, but if someone didn't and you spoiled it for them...
Yeah, well... So, that's the only reason why he's pretty much here, is because he's not doing Game of Thrones anymore, so... Okay, it could be okay. It certainly, I admit, looks, at least to me, better than Run All Night, which is the latest attempt by Liam Neeson to be an action film. Yay,
Liam Neeson action movie. Yeah. Wait, we don't say that anymore because they haven't been good for a while. Or maybe ever.
No, because the only of these movies that he's been kind of this action-y sort of, maybe it's not necessarily an action film per se, but action-y was Walk Among the Tombstones. And maybe, I guess, if you want to consider Non-Stop, maybe.
Well, can we consider Unknown? I liked Unknown.
I guess we... Although, I don't know. Did that really have a lot of action-y stuff in it?
It had a couple of action stuff. It had more than A Walk Among the Tombstones.
Walk Among the Tombstones had a lot of action scenes.
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, whatever. Either way, I mean, the only thing that makes me even remotely interested in this film is Ed Harris. because
Yeah.
he's Ed Harris.
Ed Harris is awesome.
And he's the villain, which...
He's another one of those actors that you don't really see bad performances from him that often.
Not that often, no. I still love his character in Snowpiercer. Especially because I didn't know he was in it.
So now you've just spoiled it for people. Good job, you.
No, because I haven't told him who he is.
Okay.
I didn't say who he was. It's just, I didn't know Ed Harris was in it, and then when he shows up, I'm like, oh, well, that's hilarious.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, I don't have any sort of hopes for Run All Night, other than, okay, Ed Harris looks interesting, but it looks like generic Liam Neeson actioner again.
It also looks like Ed Harris isn't in it that much. I think he's going to be like the and character.
Well, he's going to be like the head honcho boss who's going to dispatch a bunch of minions, and then all the minions...
You see him every so often, but not a whole lot.
And you can pretty much guess that all the minions are going to be dispatched by Liam Neeson, and then it's going to come down to a one-on-one showdown between Neeson and Harris, and...
Because of course it is.
Yeah, I mean, you can... This is a movie that you can predict the plot just from the trailer.
Yep.
So, yay. Speaking of... Oh, look, there's another Divergent movie coming out.
Yay, Insurgents. I didn't like Divergent, man.
Neither did I.
Good. Because it wasn't good.
Nope.
It's just another young adult dystopia thing.
Yeah, the only reason why I think this could be better than Divergent is because it's really starting to get into the whole Civil War thing that they're going to have with the Divergents and I guess the factionless, I think is what they're called, and they team up to try to take down the new evil dictator woman with, again, why is she in this? Kate Winslet. Oh, so sad. But it's probably not going to be good, but I think it could at least be a little bit better than the first one. Maybe.
I'm holding out hope. It's probably going to be better than The Gunman, which also comes out that week.
I don't know how to feel about The Gunman, because on one hand, it's okay. Now we're trying to do the Sean Penn as an action hero thing, which I mean might work, but might not. I don't know.
It doesn't look like it's going to work to me, but we'll see.
I don't think so. I mean, it feels kind of generic plot wise, where it's like, okay, he's this assassin basically who's done a lot of terrible things, but he basically gets kicked out by his head honchos, and so he decides to turn against them, basically. So it's like, okay, we've seen this 1,000 times before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not hoping out any sort of thing. I doubt it's going to be anywhere near like Shooter or anything, because this kind of seems like Shooter, except we've replaced Mark Wahlberg with Sean Penn.
Which is never a good idea.
No. Do not replace the Wahlberg with Penn.
Especially not in an action movie.
No. Mark Wahlberg, much better action actor.
Absolutely. I mean, that weekend we've also got Do You Believe, which we don't yet know if we're going to talk about, because unlike America, it probably isn't going to get a wide release in Canada. So I might not even be able to see it.
And you will be very, very lucky because of that.
Do You Believe?
Which, in case you forgot, which I hope you have, but unfortunately I have to bring it up again, this is the spiritual sequel to God's Not Dead, which, in case you've forgotten, was my second worst film of last year. So please, please, please do not go see this, listeners, please.
It's going to be awful. We can tell you that now.
Absolutely. There's no way this... I mean, this is going to be another straw man film. This is going to be another attempt to be blandly, generically inspirational, and it's not going to work. Please move on.
Okay.
I don't want to think about this film anymore.
The next week we've got... Actually, the last week of March might be the worst week of March.
Yep.
So we've got 2 comedies, 1 animated, and 1 Will Smith. Or Will Ferrell. Not Will Smith.
Well, it's got a black guy in it. It's the new Will Smith, kind of, maybe not. Okay.
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I'm not seeing that one. So Get Hard has Will Ferrell get convicted of a crime, and he hires Kevin Hart to get him ready for prison, and it looks awful.
Yes. Oh, Kevin Hart.
No, I've never been a big Will Smith or Will Ferrell. Stupid focus. a big Will Ferrell guy.
Yeah, me neither.
So, I mean, another Will Ferrell comedy doesn't really excite me.
Well, just the trailer makes it look so awful, especially his. I mean, Kevin Hart looks okay in this movie, kinda.
He looks he looks like more Wedding Ringer than whatever obnoxious character he's played in the past.
Yeah, but Think Like a Man 2, for instance.
Sure.
Well, he was really obnoxious in that. He may be saved from being the worst thing in this movie solely because Will Ferrell is here.
Yeah.
And Will Ferrell looks so terrible.
He's usually just not good, and I don't understand the appeal.
Well, there's that for me, and then like I said last week, why are we still doing rape jokes in films in 2015? In the trailer, there are 2 rape jokes.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Oh, good grief, no. I mean, it honestly makes me wonder, which is going to be worse, this or Home? DreamWorks' newest animated film, which basically they're going to be squandering any love that they got from me from Mr. Peabody and Sherman last year being as good as it was. Because we've got a crappy alien played by Jim Parsons. So, I don't know if you see... There's actually this... there's a website called movietickets.com where you can order movie tickets online. And there's a commercial for it that plays ahead of screenings at my theater, and it features the characters from Home, and every time you say movie, he says boovie, because the alien race is called the Boov.
Home.
Stop that.
It's going to be less annoying than the movie.
Maybe. Both... the movie looks so bad.
When your female lead is voiced by Rihanna, you know you've gone wrong.
Well, it's voiced by Rihanna, and it's supposed to be like a teenager. And it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I it also doesn't help when your character is supposed to be utterly annoying, and you do that on purpose.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole joke, is that he's annoying intentionally. I'm like, no. I mean, yeah, it may be intentionally annoying, but it's still annoying. Why?
It's like the intentionally bad stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, we're bad. Well, good for you. You're bad.
I do not look forward to that at all.
Well, it might be better than Get Hard.
Maybe, if only.
But that weekend's looking bad.
No kidding.
I mean, at least in the other ones, there's at least one movie that you might be able to get excited about.
Maybe.
So
I can't get anything. Yeah.
Like, we've got a little bit of positive for Insurgent, and we're holding out hope for The Gunman.
Yeah.
Cinderella, I've heard decent things about, and that weekend we also have It Follows in limited release.
Oh, yeah.
Which we haven't talked about, but that's gotten rave reviews at film festivals.
Yeah, I know I got a trailer for that recently. I don't know when exactly it's going to come out, but yeah, hopefully in March.
And then the first weekend we've got Chappie, so...
Yeah.
But then the final weekend we got nothing.
Nope.
I mean, maybe one of them will surprise us. It's happened before. I mean, we didn't think The Wedding Ringer was going to be any good.
I didn't think Paddington was going to be any good.
So, it could happen, but in terms of what I'm looking forward to, that's the weekend I'm looking least forward to.
I'm right there with you.
Got anything else to say about March?
Well, I think I'm supposed to get Serena as well, which...
Oh, yeah?
Yay, another...
Which I've seen because we got it in Canada last year.
Yeah, another Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence romance movie.
It's not good.
I'll
tell you guys this right now. It's not good.
Oh, you're filling me with such hope for that film.
I forgot that was even a thing because we got it months ago.
Yeah, the release schedule is very weird sometimes with this.
I think at one point they were hoping it would get an Oscar qualifying run, and then people saw it and they were like, this is barely even in a releasable state. So then it got pushed back to, well, now, in a few weeks, and everyone's going to forget about it. Nobody's going to see it, and it doesn't deserve to be seen.
Yay.
We'll maybe talk about it if Gerald does get it.
Well, at present, we're scheduled to get it, so we'll see.
Okay. So, if you want, you can follow us on the Twitter, Gerald's at FilmFlashNC. I'm at MartyrTweet. Send us your comments. Tell us how much you love us.
Tell us,
We're really
maybe tell us what you're looking forward to in March, if anything.
We're really desperate for your comments. That's how we judge how successful we are in life. That's how successful I judge myself.
I don't know. I think we've gotten plenty of comments. You're doing very well for yourself.
Oh yeah, all one comment. Next week we've got Chappie, the second best exotic marigold hotel, and Unfinished Business. Until next time, this is Matt and Matt at the Movies signing off.
Take care, Internet.